Welcome to Opinion Havers, a movie podcast for people who are blue dabu dee dabu die. I'm Cody.
And I'm Tyler.
Tyler, you ever listened to Eiffel 65's classic song?
Never once in my life.
Let me sing it for you. No, let's not do that. Tyler, we got some homework for you.
Okay.
What did we watch?
We watched Avatar 2. I also watched Avatar 1. You were too much of a coward.
Yeah, I was. Let me tell you. Was it the best decision I ever made? Here's what I did. Look, this is what you understand. You think you're better than me?
Yes.
You think you're better than me because you watched Avatar 1, then Avatar 2? Here's what I did. I watched Avatar 2 twice, okay? Even better than watching 1 and 2. I watched 2 times, okay?
Cody, I'm better than you because I make more than you. All right, let's get that clear, okay?
Yeah.
But I'm also better than you because I also watched both the movies. I do plan to go see the movie again if I can. Here's why,
yeah,
Cody.
But until then, I'm winning over here.
But I watched the first Avatar twice. All right, so take that. Take that, Cody.
Bless your heart. The things
I also
you do
watched.
for our
No,
listeners.
hold on. I also watched it on an OLED TV. How many movies have you watched on your OLED TV?
You know I don't have an OLED TV.
Stands for Organic Light Emitting Diode, Cody.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I just got text from Bailey. You were just now starting.
Both of our wives are upset with us. We took a long time to start. You're
going to die. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to step away from your desk, air to the chest. I'm going to step out of my little office and I don't know, skill to the head. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how she does it.
Yeah.
Well, Tyler, do you want to tell the good people a little synopsis of what Avatar: The Way of Water is all about?
So Avatar: The Way of Water is the sequel to Avatar: Nothing. It's a continuation of the story from the first movie. That's how sequels work, Cody, with the same characters, same actors, same but slightly better effects.
Tell me more about these sequels. Have they ever made one of these before?
Oh, it's the first time they've ever done it, Cody. That's why it's such a big deal.
What an innovator. Jim Cameron out here.
Jim Cameron came in here and he's like, look, I'll make these movies. If you also put my documentaries on Disney, okay, and giving me National Geographic's ship to do ocean stuff. And I say, Jim, hurry up and finish these Avatar movies so you give me more of the documentaries I want about the ocean. Cody, when I tell you let me ask you to ask me, what's my favorite Jim Cameron movie?
What's your favorite Jim Cameron movie?
Any of the ocean documentaries he makes. He's a genius. He's awesome. He's cool. He loves the ocean and it makes you love it too. Okay. He did one that he didn't even make it because, oh no, what is he doing? He's on the set of Avatar, which they call him several times. He's like, I'm here making Avatar, so I can't be there. You feel bad for him because what are they doing? They're hunting for Atlantis and they found some really cool stuff that I didn't know about. Because everybody else is like, let's find the magic city with the flying fish. And it's like, look, we all know where that is. You got to go to Iceland, find the book, get the guy, take it down there, find Moliere. You got it. All right.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like, oh, yeah, no, here's all this stuff. And then they're like, oh, yeah. Then at the end of it, they're like, we discovered evidence that the Philippines, which everybody was like, nothing, bunch of trash dirt people, used to be like have like a civilization with ocean-faring vessels along like 1,000 years before anybody thought. That's awesome. And then Jim's like, that's pretty cool. Anyway, I guess I'll just keep making Avatar. And he was so sad. He sounded sad. He sounded like, it's cool that you guys are there splashing around in the water. I'm just here on a green screen with Sam Worthington. All right.
No. Yeah. Well, I think that about sums it up. That's about what Avatar is about. Tyler,
I have a hot take that you're gonna love, but it could spoil it. So I'll wait till we get into the spoiler.
Okay.
Territory.
Can I give you my first opinion on the movie?
Give it to me.
I was pausing for effect. Pleasantly surprised with the quality of Avatar: The Way of Water. I found it watchable. And you know what? That is so much more I ever could have asked from. Look, I laughed out loud watching Avatar 1. I was like, who's buying into this garbage, you know? And that was me. How many years ago? 13 years? Oh, that was a long time ago. This movie came out forever ago. And let me tell you, it wasn't my kind of movie. I thought it was silly. And let me tell you, I watched this new one. I was like, oh, they did a pretty good job. I enjoyed it so much so that I forced myself to see it a second time so I could get the 3D experience. So there you go. That's how it went for me. How'd it go for you?
Cody, I'm gonna get it. So here we go. So I'll say, because we never did an episode. I wanted to do an episode on Avatar. Again, coward. So here's what I'm gonna say. BS, you laughed out loud. We all thought it looked incredible. Here's why. Because the movies, they're not memorable. This one's not going to be memorable. That one isn't memorable. Name one character other than Jake Sully from the first Avatar. You can't, because nobody cares. Because Jim knows one thing, and that's how to make a story that's exactly how complicated as it needs to be, and absolutely nothing, because he knows why you're there. You're not there. You will never go to an Avatar movie because you want to know what happens what's the next stage in the journey of Jake Sully. Nobody cares. You're there to see the effects, Cody, and the effects, they hold up pretty well. Here's why. Again, he knows how to channel effects, effort, and budget. Where it's like there's a one every so often, even on the original one and in this one. Doesn't look great. But anytime there's like close-ups, there's slow motion stuff, it's incredible looking. And it holds up. Also, first one, shout out to him being a hero and saying, no, you cannot have this in super ultra HD 4K everything. Because then the effects will look like hot garbage. It's 1080p. And that is all you're getting, because that is what it was designed to look like. That's what it looks best watched on a TV. And so that's what you watched on. All these other movies, like they come out here and they're like, oh, look, here's the 4K release of a movie that came out in 2005. And you're like, this looks like I'm playing a video game on the PlayStation 2.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And there's,
Look, you're out here with a good TV. I remember seeing Avatar, someone was watching, and this was like in a dorm room in college, and it was a few months after it had come out. So I was like, oh, it's on DVD now. People are watching it. I remember seeing it and being like, I forgot how terrible this looks. Or, like how it doesn't look good, especially compared to seeing it in the theater. I never saw it in the big 3D, whatever. But, it wasn't, I didn't like it. You know what I'm saying? So I stand by it, but the new one, I liked it.
I told you, I remember I sent you the text. I said, Cody, you're allowed to like the movies. It's fine. You don't have to hate every movie you watch. I'm sorry. No one wraps themselves in barbed wire and makes out with what's her face that you like. But you know what? That's fine. Cody, there can be both kinds of movies. Okay. I will say, I've always defended Avatar, but I don't defend it on the grounds that it's a good movie. I defend it on the grounds of there are a lot of people that say, I called it that was a bad movie at the time. Nobody called it that was a bad movie at the time. It didn't get the best reviews. Again, it's like going to a football game and being like, that was a terrible football game. The bathroom smelled awful. It's like, no, that's not why you're there, idiot. That's right.
Yeah.
You're there for the spectacle. You're there for
that's
why.
My thing.
You're there for the effects. You're there for the nipples sometimes popping out of the bras, but sometimes they're glued to it, meaning they chose to show the random weird little flashes of nudity we all saw. And it's like, you could have just done it or not done it, but you chose to only do it sometimes. And that's weird, right? That makes it weirder.
Well, there had to have been a censor at the MPA just like ticking the nipples, and they're like, all right, well, 6. Yeah. 6 that's a PG-13 movie. 7, this is a hard R. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wonder, well, let's not get into the nipple conversation, but can you imagine, did they have to go back in and scrub out some nipples, Did they have to redo some effects and be like, too much nipple in this one? We crossed the nipple barrier. You know what I'm saying?
Cody, I'll have you know you can have 3 nipples in a PG-13 movie.
Well, there you go.
How did I learn
on
that?
The same
Total
person?
Recall.
Or that just one chest? Or is that... Well, Tyler, are we going to dive into it? Are we going to do it?
Cody, Just plug that little brain of yours into this fish. All right.
Okay.
It's into this fish bird, and let's get it.
Nice.
Let's fly off. Let's fly off into the thing. You know what, Cody? Let's both of us plug into it, right? You do it with me. It's naughty, but we're gonna do it together. All right.
Yeah. Well, Tyler, are you taking the reins of this fish and going first, or are you handing the reins to me?
Let me go first. I got some stuff because I'm going to touch a little bit on the first one, because as I said, I wanted to be heroes and do both, but you were a coward. So let me go first. Are you ready? Do you have your timer pulled up? I got mine pulled up. Okay. Now I'm waiting on you.
I'm not ready. I'm not ready. You can go whenever.
All right, here we go. Cody, I'm going to run through the first movie for you real quick here. I'm just got a few points on it. Okay, the first one, everybody says it's Pocahontas, right? Everybody says, it's Pocahontas in space. Here's the thing. I thought this and I was like, I'm a genius. And then I went to see the second movie and I was like, now everybody's going to say this because it's so much more obvious in the second one. And I'm so mad. But also, I'm going to bring this around to say Jim Cameron is actually a genius movie maker at a very specific kind of movie that everybody's like, he's not good at making good movies, but how dare you? He's made like 7 movies and almost made as much money as Steven Spielberg, who's made like 40 movies. So you can go off yourself. All right. It is Dune. That's the core story that he's using. It's Dune. All right. Everybody. And then I was like, well, it's a little bit of Dune, a little bit of Pocahontas, a little bit of something. And then after I was saying the third or fourth thing, I was like, so it's an original story. That's what it is. If you've combined elements from 4 or 5 other stories, you've made an original story, I want you to look at yourself. Take a good hard look at yourself. Everybody here is like, Avatar's bad. Avatar is an original story. It's an original story. It didn't steal it it stole inspiration from other things, but it stole so many inspirations from so many other places. It is an original thing, right? Because it's like, if you made a car, it's like, well, it's got wheels the same way that all the other cars do. Yeah, you're an idiot. All cars have wheels. Okay. Stop. All right. So this movie, everybody's like, why can't they just make new stuff? Why they gotta make sequels? Avatar is a new thing. So if you're one of these people that's like, I want new stuff. Also, Avatar's bad. Stop watching movies. You've done it to yourself. All right. All you want is an MCU movie. You're what's wrong with the world. All right. Now we're moving on. All right. So let's talk about it. His first movie. All right. There's so many people who applied to be this, but let's just remember Sam Worthington was a darling. He was living in his car. And then everybody's like, Sam Worthington's such a sellout garbage person because he was in one movie. All right. This man went from living in his car to being the star of the biggest movie of all time. And everybody's like, what a sellout. No, every other actor's in a sellout. This is a sweet boy. He's been in one other movie that I remember off the top of my head. It's Titan. Guess what? It's the exact same story as Avatar. And it's cool. All right. But it's much more scientific and it's much worse. All right. That is what a bad movie with this storyline looks like. So I dare you to watch it and then tell me Avatar is bad. All right. They go through all this, right? The first one takes a lot more from Pocahontas, right? This one goes hard on the Dune thing. That's when I went from like, I'm a genius, I'm smart, I see through the lies of the Jedi. And then I got into this movie and I said, gosh dang it, you went harder on the Dune thing. All right, you came here, you gave him they're the guerrilla fighters. Then he's like, all right, cool, we're going to leave. And then they just left him. So now I'm like, cool. So now we know all of the other movies are going to be him collecting the other clans like Pokemon. All right. He then has to go there, get them to fight, destroy them, move on for their safety, but only after destroying their home and 90% of their population. All right. Classic imperialist. All right. They came in here. Here's one thing I did like about the thing. At no point is it like we thought they were gone forever because it's not realistic that they would be gone forever. Okay. Not really. They would then, it's like, what did you do by sending them all home? You bought yourself 12 years, 6 years there, 6 years back. They're coming back with an army and you did nothing to prepare. That peeves me off. You are idiot blue monkey people. All right. Why were you doing that whole time? You didn't even teach them how to use guns. They're still flying around with bows and arrows, dude. Here's what I'm saying. If Cortez went to the Aztec Empire and then they said, cool, we're going to leave. You got 12 years. Then we're coming back. And then there was one dude he's like, I'm the head of the civilization now. I'm from Spain. I know what they got. We have all of their technology. We got their ships. We got their guns. We got their armor. We got everything. For 1 second, if you think they freaking wouldn't have done something to prep, then you're a psycho. All right. That's all I'm saying, right? what were they doing? All right. The ship's coming in. Cody, let's talk. That's one of the coolest sequences I've ever seen in my entire life in a movie. All right. I saw it in the 3D, with the big. Let's talk about these Dolby glasses. Did you see it in Dolby 3D? Nod, shake. No, you saw it in IMAX. Like, they just got dumb little thin. You snap them in half just by looking at them, right? Dolby, these are heckin' chonkers, all right? They go on your head and it's like, oh boy. Doesn't tell you to put them on though, which I feel like that's uncool, all right? But I knew I spotted it. I spotted the little thing coming apart. You know how it does, when the pictures start to spread out. The effects look great. Tell me, some of these effects were 60 frames per second though, right? Were they not? Or is that just the 3D? That's why I want to go watch it again. Was it 3D? Was it not 3D? Because some of them, it's like every so often I was like, this is a video game cutscene where everything's 60 frames per second. Then it would slam back down to 24. It drove me nuts.
Tyler, look, I'm going to have to cut you off right there. I like what you're doing, but shut up because I'm doing stuff now. All right. Look, great job on the Dune comp. Great job. The one you forgot to mention that everyone was talking about the last time, 13 years ago when this happened, Dances with Wolves. So that's the other one never compared to. Whatever. We're all over it. It's fine. Here's my thing about Avatar 1. You talked about how we're here for the effects, but I'm not the effects boy. I like the practical effects and I like writing. So when they write a story that's like, hey, real basic, we just need the story to give us the framework to do all this stuff. I think that's the main reason why I didn't like Avatar 1. I think Avatar Way of Water is a much better written film. And granted, James Cameron has 5 writers working with him on all the Avatar sequels. So I think that's helping. Anywho, whatever. Here's my thing. The first movie, they're like, unobtainium, we got to get it. And the second movie, they're like, revenge mission on Jake Sully, got it. And so that's what I think is kind of fun. I think it's a much better written movie. I like a lot of the characters. I think, if anything, where the effects are great, I think the design of all the water world is awesome and it's really cool. And that's one of my favorite parts about the movie. What I think is still a little weak is hold up. The amount of money that you have to spend to clone someone's personality and put it into an avatar bot. We're talking $1 billion, right? They're in space, they're hurtling through. And the one thing they can think to do is kill this one guy. You're like, hold on, stop, get out of here. There's gotta be, I'm not saying you wouldn't want revenge. I am saying it wouldn't be the one thing you set out to do. You know what I'm saying? Whatever is fine. I am very interested in the overall war for Pandora. And they hint at it in this movie, right? He meets the new general and she's like, look, lots changed since you've been here. We're building all this stuff. We want to colonize Pandora for Earth people to live on. That's what we're going for now. I was like, yes, this is a cool story. I'm excited to see how this goes. Except this story is about a potato. Sam Worthington's character is a blank slate who's vaguely from New Jersey, and it's fine. Whatever. I just don't care for his character. He's not a good character. He's not a bad character, but he is a potato. I like potatoes. I could just name 10 vegetables that are more interesting. You know what I'm saying? Anywho, I think his family story is kind of interesting. Jake Sully, I don't care. I don't really care too much about Jake Sully. His kids are kind of cool, though. I think that's interesting. All right. Oh, yeah. Waterworld is great. I think the action, the other thing, too, I didn't love the action in the first Avatar. I thought the action sequences in this one were very well thought out, very well done. I thought, you complained about him not teaching me to use guns. Is that a good plot hole? Yes. But was it totally worth it to watch Zoe Saldana pick up someone with an arrow she just shot them with and then shoot another arrow through their body? I was like, yeah, that was awesome. I loved it. So all the arrow and bow stuff, arrow, bow, and spear stuff, I thought was great. Also, easily my favorite action scene of the year. Maybe even the decade. A whale fighting a whaling ship. Incredible. It was so much fun to watch. I thought they got really creative with the water scenes and a whale fighting a whale hunter. Come on. That's a good action scene. And we're in space at the same time. Very well done. Let's see. That was easily, I think my favorite part was the smart whale being like, see, I am smart and you are dumb. Really great. I mean, the money they must have spent on that revenge mission is just insane, but it's fine. I mean, they're burning down whole villages. They're tanking this. I mean, you talk about this whaling ship, how much money they're making. What do you say? $80 million in one vial? And they're going from, you know what I'm saying? You really think these guys would have muscled their way onto that ship? And he's like, I'll ask nicely once. It's like, we got all kinds of stuff on our ship too. You know what? I don't think he would have actually taken. And they're burning down these villages. And the scientists like, you guys are going to ruin. You can't hunt here. You're going to cause war with all these water Na'vi people. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. It's fine. Here's my other thing too. At the end of the fight, it's like Jake Sully's family versus General, what's his name? Colonel Butt, whatever. What happened to the whole army they came with? They came with a whole army of people that were there, and they're like, we're helping out, don't worry. And then at the end of the battle, it's like, we're all gone. Good luck on your own, dudes. What, just sold them out like that, but it's fine. I was a little confused about why you couldn't be friends with the whale, but when I watched it the second time, I was like, oh yeah, no, they explain it pretty well. This movie's just crazy long, and I got to take pee breaks. You know what I'm saying?
Cody, I need to cut you off right here. I got lots of stuff I need to rebut.
Yeah, go ahead.
But let me start out by the biggest thing that I hated about this movie. I will say, okay, overall for this movie, I think if you look at James Cameron's filmography, he's very with the exception of Terminator, he does one-offs, right? He does one movie, and they're all big spectacle movies. None of them are masterpieces of storytelling or writing. He likes to make spectacle movies. That's it. And so I think the reason this one's so much better written is, my guess would be they if I was him, I would have made a big deal out of saying this too. I would have been like, all right, if we're doing several of these, I need writers and other people involved, because he knows. I do like, he does, it feels in both the first one and this one, he's very aware of where he falls short, but also very aware of like where he has to put effort and money to make the big spectacle that everyone loves to see. Like, we watched Aliens. It's a bad movie, but it's awesome to watch. It's a fun movie to watch, but that's not like a well-written masterpiece of a movie, right? It's a good alien movie, but Alien is a masterpiece.
Action movie in a sci-fi setting.
Yeah.
There isn't that much sci-fi in it, except for like, oh, Sigourney Weaver's back and here's why she's back. It's really just kind of like, hey, we're going down into the alien hive. It's going to be awesome. Buckle up.
Yeah. But again, it's just like Avatar. And I would say from the movies of his that I've seen, Titanic is probably the most complex. The Abyss has a lot of undertone, but that's, I think, because it's an ocean thing and he likes the ocean. So he went hard on that. But there's always some kind of conservation undertone. And the movies are simple because, they get overcomplicated with a big action movie. It just ends up bad. It never goes well, right? If you try to overcomplicate a big action set piece movie, right? The whales. The whale was an outcast, right? And he's like, he killed these whales and the people, he killed them. He's a murderer. And then they do this whole thing. They spend, it felt like an hour of the movie going through all back and forth. What's up with the whale? It's missing a little flipper, and then it's like, then he learns by going into the whale's mouth. He learns, it wasn't the whale that killed everybody. He didn't shoot them with bullets and spears because he was just he was the only one to survive. And then it's like, revelation, he's going to do it. He's going to clear this whale's name. And then he's like, look, he didn't do it. He was just there. He was just like, we got to fight. And they were like, yeah, dude, let's do it. Let's mess him up. And then they all died. And they're like, yeah, we know. It's the same difference. And I was like, then why did you play it up like it was this big reveal and this big back?
Yeah.
I was so mad. And then they're like, you can't be a Takunga or whatever and be killing. That's against their murder is against everything. It's like the worst thing you can do. Anyway, let's go murder all of them to protect these whales. And I'm just like, you guys are the worst ever. This is the worst written part of the entire movie. Is like your whole thing of like, he was part of a group that was killed, thus he killed them. And it's like, well, he convinced them to go. And it's like, no, they do say, and he clarifies, no, they all wanted to go and he went with them. And they're like, yeah, we know it's the same difference. So by that logic, if you don't die in battle with your friends, you killed your friends.
Yeah.
Cody, you've killed everyone that you did not die at the same time with. As all right, that's what I need
Tyler,
you to know. All right, they drove. So mad. It's a bad movie.
If we're talking about gripes with the movie,
tell me about your gripes.
I'll do you one. I'm like, there aren't that many in terms of the writings. Like I said, I thought it was much better written. It's a story of the boy who couldn't stay put. Because if this son ever once stayed put, they would have no problems. He gets captured, the very first time he goes into battle when he's not supposed to, and then he almost dies, almost gets his brother killed. Then the next time he goes out where he's not supposed to, and then he runs into Colonel Butt, and then they get captured, and then that's a whole thing. And then he goes where he's not supposed to with the other boys, and that's where he finds the whale. And so it's just like and what's funny is like he never like learns his lesson of like, I did, even when they're on the ship, he's like, okay, time to get out. He's like, oh no, we got to get orphan feral boy. You know what I'm saying? Like every single chance he gets, he's like, no, I'm doing my own thing. Like, so he never learns to listen to his elders, but he's always, I guess his reasons get a little better, but it was kind of funny. I'm like, man, if he ever stayed put, the plot would not move forward for this movie, But
at the same time, with the exception of the first thing, right? Like the information he gathers or the outcome of the situation is like, had they not learned, again, you don't know the colonel's name. And I think that's I don't remember it. I'll say I like both the movies. I can't remember anybody's names. It's like, that's the kind of movie it is. You don't remember these movies. You remember that they were cool and they looked good. The writing is like, I would say the writing's better in this one because it's like, I told you he did the story with 5 writers in total. Yeah.
So here's what he did. He said, hey, I got 5 writers together. We're going to storyboard out the whole 4 sequels. And now they've got it all storyboarded out. I'm going to break you up and say, hey, now you polish the script for 2, you polish your script for 3, you get 4, you get 5. And so it's like, I did that so that no one would say, oh, well, this isn't my movie, I'm not going to care about it. So the whole series is storyboarded out now. And it's just a matter of the writers like fleshing out, the finer details, which I thought was interesting. But it's like James Cameron is not writing these scripts alone. He's got a whole team writing these scripts now.
So here's the real thing. Let's get real talk with it for a second. James Cameron he's a good director, from what I've heard. He's better than the person I'm about to compare him to, skill wise, but also that he seems very aware of where he's not good and where he needs to involve other people.
Mm-hmm.
The person I'm going to compare him to is George Lucas. George Lucas, terrible director, terrible writer, excellent story person. Like Steven Spielberg, later, the more recent stuff, his career, the stuff most people I feel like nowadays know him for is built off of George Lucas having a cool idea. And I will die on that hill. George Lucas is the reason Steven Spielberg is as successful as he is. Because George Lucas and even Spielberg and Lucas have both said this. One is a very good director. One is a very good story person. And they're both not very good at the other part of that. So had George Lucas been smart enough to say, all right, I need to hire a writer and a director, and I will sit with both of them and lay out the storyboards. I feel like, like his properties, I mean, Star Wars is as successful as it is in despite of him, right? But just imagine, like I watched a video where it was like, oh, here's like the top 10 highest grossing directors of all time. And it's like, James Cameron's like the 3rd with half as many movies as anybody else on the list. And I was like, gosh, dang, it makes me sad. Because I'm like, Lucas, why couldn't you just get out your own dang way? But I think the movie, there's no points in dialogue where it gets super deep back and forth, like where you can quickly lose it. It's like everything's super simple. All the characters are very one-dimensional. There's not very much growth, even though they're like, oh, but he grew as a person. He never learned to obey his father because half the time he disobeyed him. Like it was the oldest brother who got them where they were to find out the colonel guy was there. And had they not learned that, it would have been worse in the long run. So it's like, it almost to me seems like you just picked your favorite son and just hate the other one. So, because half the time it's the older brother's fault they're in the situation, half the time it's the younger brother's fault. But the younger brother always gets the blame. Or
is the other problem, it's really hard to distinguish between the two brothers. I don't know that they did a great job making them look particularly distinctive, at least certain characters, not in general. But here's my other problem is for me, it's really hard to be like when I'm looking at the cast here, I'm like, oh yeah, that person is that Na'vi. Mm-hmm. Whereas before it was like, oh, here's Sam Worthington and here's Sam Worthington as a Na'vi. We go back and forth. Whereas now it's like, no, these are just the blue people.
Yeah.
It's really hard for me to be like, oh yeah, no, I got it. You're the, in some movies it's like, well, this is going to be the hat guy. This is going to be the tattoo guy. And this is going to be the girl with braid hair, and they do things be like, okay, this is obviously this person. I didn't get that for a few of these characters. So, yeah. Do I remember the name of either of the sons? I remember Tuk is the tiny one.
Yeah.
I think
I don't remember any of their names.
Caesarea is the
what?
Blue water girl.
You're making that
up. I think
up.
Annung is one of the water people. Spider is the feral boy.
Oh, Moloch Spider. Remember Spider.
Has to be one of the two sons.
I don't know. Is that true?
I do not know who the others. I'm just saying. I'm looking at this cast list and I have no idea which one is which one. And also, Stephen Lang, who plays the Colonel, says Quaritch. So is it Colonel Quaritch?
Yes.
But that doesn't sound right.
It doesn't.
Did he have a nickname?
Well, because they never call him Colonel Quaritch in the movie. Like twice in both movies, they say his name. I don't even know if they say it in this one. But he's always the Colonel or, hey, you. It's like
Colonel Quaritch.
Okay, I'll give you a weird example.
Miles Quaritch.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like they call him something else. Whatever.
So he's referred to as like, I mean, Sigourney calls him like, she never calls him by his name because she never really even talks to him. Who would talk to him and call him by his name? Everyone else says Colonel. All the soldiers call him Colonel or Sir. Well, I think at one point when he's first introduced, they're like, this is his name. And that's it. And it's like, this is moving on. I remember the only character, I don't know his name because he's not a named character. The most memorable character in the first Avatar movie is the guy that gives the speech before they get off the shuttle. Cody, all right. Here's how I know. He's like, all right, everybody, masks on. Go directly to the base. Do not stop. Wait for my mark. Boom, comes down the mask. He's the only one I can remember. He's the only person I can picture his face all of the time without fail. Okay. He is like Starliner Guard 7 or whatever. Like that's the name in the credits. Okay. So he's such it's like that that's the movie. Here's why it's Dune though, Cody. Here's why Sam Worthington is perfect. One, he's just like, he is exactly what like Chief should have been in the Halo show, like what Doom guys should be if they ever made a good movie or a show about Doom. He is a faceless, blank slate protagonist. He is meant to be generic white guy. Nothing. All right. He is the most generic soldier. That's what he's supposed to be. I've seen Sam Worthington and other stuff. It's like people who are like Robert Pattinson's bad actor because all they've ever seen is Twilight. I said that at one point, and I want to go back and punch myself in the nards, Cody, because how dare I slander his name, okay? He is a treasure, all right? So Sam Worthington can be good. Like I will say, like the Titan movie, there's a lot more emotion there, but part of the storyline is he kind of slowly becomes emotionless, which is funny because you see like a normal guy slowly become Jake Sully, really is what happens. All right? But like, because he's supposed to be, you're supposed to project yourself onto him. That's the purpose of his character.
Right. Yeah. And I've heard this.
The emotion comes from. So if you're someone who likes movies and you like the character development and all that, then it's like you said, I don't think you'll ever like Avatar. And like you said, you don't like special effects. I think they're fun to watch. I think it's cool. So I like it.
Yeah.
But it's not a fun. It's not like a movie.
I'll say, like I said, I really like the water stuff way better than I did seeing the first movie. I also saw it in 2D and I was like, it looks really good. Good job. And then I saw it in 3D. I was like, oh, it's great. I really enjoyed watching it.
It wasn't
the water looked fantastic, which is a huge challenge to do a lot of special effects, including water. So, I mean, I was really impressed by that. And aside from a few bits here and there, I was like, oh, they're really honing in on the tech. There's some things in Avatar 1, like when the mech is twirling the knife, I burst out loud laughing. I was like, what are we even doing here? Why do we have a mech that can, you know what I'm saying? I get maybe trying to show off how advanced they are. I just didn't like it.
Trying to say crab and like lanky.
My brother, let me tell you what my brother said in the theater when we were watching this movie together. The crabs were like, they went punch into their own fist and they scuttled into the water. And he was like, are they going to punch the whales? Where will their cruelty end? I mean, they never did punch the whale, but holy crap, did they? I mean, they really did go for it. Yeah, it was great. Oh man.
So here's the thing I'll say with the crabs. I will point to that and be like, that was a bad decision. It is realistic. That's a very effective design in the ocean. In fact, there's like a whole school.
There's a whole design movement of like, yeah, you model things after nature because nature stuff works. Yeah.
Not only that, in like ocean evolution, it is like there's a theory. I don't know how conspiracy theory-ish it is, right? Or ish it is, but it's like an actual like provable thing that like everything in the ocean, like crabs are the peak of ocean evolution, and so it's like everything kind of morphs in. Everything's headed that direction because they're like the perfect. It's like the perfect film. Episode 1 of Star Wars. They're the perfect. But it's like when it's broken down to you by like a biologist. I don't know all the arguments, but they are incredibly well designed for what they do. They're like perfectly designed, whereas everything else has some kind of flaw. But they're like the perfect. It's kind of like crocodiles, where it's like they haven't changed for millions of years because they're like perfect for what they do.
Yeah.
So it's like if you wanted to make a machine to grab wildebeest and spin them, why not design it after a crocodile? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But so in theory, it does make sense. Also, it looks stupid. Okay.
Yeah.
But I think the technology made a lot more sense. I will say another hill I'll die on, the mechs from the Matrix movie, the third Matrix movie, look way better than the mechs in Avatar 1.
Yeah.
They're much more believable. Why would you bring battle mechs to another planet? Why wouldn't you use like loader mechs that can be used for like moving stuff as combat mechs?
You need a mech so good that you can grip a cup of coffee and drink from it.
Yeah.
That did make me a little mad because I was like, hold on. So in her hand, she's doing the motion to hold a coffee cup. Do you remember this? The general was sipping a coffee cup.
I hate those mechs.
Which means I hate them too. Which means that her mech is holding a coffee cup. But here's my question. When she holds it up to her mouth, then the mech's hand to the coffee is touching her lips. But then what is her hand doing? Because her hand was bringing up. I'm so confused. Why wouldn't you just hold the coffee with your hand and not was it a giant coffee cup too? Because the mech is bigger than her. So how big is the coffee cup? Because the mech's hand should be really big. So is it a giant coffee or is it a small? I have so many questions.
Okay, here's the thing. Let me tell you about a little property called Halo, which takes place not actually further in the future than this. All right, but they're both future humans, right? So you've seen the art from Halo, the video game series, right? Where they have mechs. Fun fact, that look better. They are would be much easier to have like practical units of or anything. But when they need to be smaller. But they also so the bad guys, the elites in Halo, right? The main guys, right?
They're going into lore.
They're big boys, all right. They're not probably as big as the Na'vi, but they're close. Okay, Master Chief's a big boy as well, but he's shorter considerably than the elites, all right. And you know what, Cody? He's in his power armor. They can fight just fine. He can fight them, and it's cool and it looks incredible. So I'm like, why don't? Okay, look. Why do you insist on the need to have terrible looking mechs when Halo's my main example? Well, let's point at any other video game or other shows or movies that just put them like, you know what, we're just going to put them in power armor. So they're maybe a foot taller than a normal person, but they can punch as hard as like a freight train and just be like, tech. It looks cool because it's like this little dude punching a big thing. It looks awesome. And it gives you these opportunities to not have a dude like draw a knife from a sheath on his mech. What? Look, Guillermo del Toro did it with a sword, but it came out, it was in segments and it was like in a compartment. It was cool. All right. And even I guarantee you, Guillermo del Toro would not say that Pacific Rim is a well-written movie. He would say it's a cool movie. Why are you going to put a knife sheath on a mech? Why? Then why are you going to double down and
coffee mugs? That's what we're doing. That's the peak of future technology. Look, in the future, we're going to be able to use knives and drink coffee. That's what I'm saying. That's how cool the future is going to be.
Why was she punching a punching bag with it? What muscles are you working out?
The muscles you got to use to hold the coffee cup. Think you
I'm
can just
talking
hold a
about-
big coffee cup?
She's there. She's punching a punching bag outside wearing her mask. Okay.
She's also kicking it.
Why? Oh,
She's
to work on. You
going
can say
Andrew Tate kickboxing the punching bag.
you're about to
right?
tell me, Cody, that she got to work on the coordination with the mech suit. She's been there a long time. Also, why is she doing it outside? Why not inside? Well, you got to learn to fight with the mask. Cool. You can do that inside. You do that inside. You can just punch a thing. If they're that well designed that she can be punching a punching bag and holding a cup of coffee with the mech, why does she need to train with the mech? Wouldn't you be able to just get in the mech and act normal? Isn't that the whole point of the mech? You get in and act normal, and then it's fine. Also, where was the second seat person in their subs half the time? They had two people get in, and then they'd be like, we're crashing. And one time they showed the second person. 2 other times they showed one person in that sub. Where's the second person, Cody?
Look, you're glossing over this general because
they had 3 fingers the whole time.
Here's the thing about Eddie Falco. This is what is amazing. A few months ago, they were like, she was in an interview and she's like, yeah, I'm pretty disappointed. I guess people didn't want to see Avatar 2. Like, it's a bummer. Because she didn't realize Avatar 2 didn't come out until later in the year. So she was like, I did that performance so long ago and I never heard anything about it. So it must have tanked. And they were like, yeah, that movie comes out in December. So that's fun. Just a little cliff note for you on her. Let me run. I don't want us to, go over time too much. Let me run through a few of my notes.
Okay.
All right. Feral Boy, Spider. Interesting idea. I thought the actor, he did his best. I thought he put forth a good performance. Here's my thing. Number one, I'm very glad that he actually put up a fight at the end and was able to help sink the ship. Because I was like, he's just sitting here watching. We got to get him to do something. Then he does something. I was very happy. Number two, I can't believe he saves fake dad, Colonel Quaritch clone. What was that about? Number one, how could he do that to the Na'vi? Number two, what is Colonel Quaritch 2.0 Na'vi version boy going to do? Like, what is the next step for him?
Oh, Cody, I mean, I can tell you, but do you want me to spoil the day? Like I'm going to guess 4th movie. Like, like,
go ahead. Spoil away. Spoil away.
Cody, the storyline of Jake Sully and the boys. So the storyline of Jake Sully to start out with is very much, Pocahontas, Last of the Mohicans, whatever, which is funny because you could say so many different ones that it does feel like, oh, it's really just like a more of like a type of story, not really pulling directly from any of them, but he becomes one with the natives, right? Mm-hmm. He is, again, going back to the Dune thing, he's Duke Leto, all right? His son is absolutely Paul Atreides. Jake will not be the main character. Jake, I'm thinking he's going to die in the next one, but also, are they going to be that aggressive? That's the other thing is I'm like, are they going to go that aggressive with it? Are they going to kill Jake Sully? Because the safe bet is to just not kill him. Just have him not die, right? Because you saw Dune, right? Spoilers for Dune. That's the warning for Dune. Duke Leto is Paul Atreides, who's the main character of Dune. It's his father. He gets put in charge of Dune. Then there's a big hullabaloo. He gets got. He's naked on a chair and he gets got. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And then that sets off his son becoming truly one with the natives and going and conquering the planet, basically. Spoilers for
their
the end of Dune.
Family is their fortress.
Yeah, which is exactly what Duke Leto says to Paul. Okay, that it's the same kind of rhetoric. That it's all about duty. Except I'll say this: Duke Leto, much better father. Okay. So also there are some characters that aren't in the first Dune movie, so I don't want to spoil that necessarily, but they are like one for one the same as their characters that you'll see in the next Dune movie. Which here's the thing that I think, if they go hard and stick with the Dune comparison, which I'm like, they could easily branch off and just basically pick another movie to copy for the next movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's a harsh gauntlet to throw down. That you're basically like, all right, Denis, let's go toe for toe. Which I'm like, Denis a better storyteller than you are, Jim. Jim, you're better at making the spectacle. Denis better at story. So you're not going to win that matchup.
Mm.
But I think the son, he's going to become the main character, basically. He's who the next movies are going to follow. So when I was saying like, oh, it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, right? We're going to come down to, so the dad, right? I mean, he's going to be redeemed by the final movie. He's going to do something to save. I was like, there's two options. About halfway through the movie, I was like, there's only two ways this is going to end. One, Colonel dies and then ends. I wanted them to end. You know how like the first movie ends with him like, you know, breathing in his avatar body, right? With the eyes. I wanted it to end in a close up of the Colonel in a pod. They revived a second clone. And then every movie ends, he gets killed and revived. And I'm like, you could make 1,000 movies this way. You've done it. You've made it to where they can clone him. So he's, but I was like,
James
the other
Cameron
thing,
really found the loophole for being able to use any actor at any age.
Oh yeah.
Like Sigourney Weaver plays, you know, a 14-year-old movie, and it's just like nailed it.
Yeah. Also, so the other thing is like he becomes Darth Vader. He's the bad guy that ends up at the end of it when they end up finally expelling or become or like joining, you know, peaceful resolution with the humans, right? He's going to be the one that does it. He does the final act that kicks it off where they can't, you know, there's no way the humans can win it. So they have to either negotiate or leave.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. He's going to blow up Earth or something, right? To save the Na'vi. Okay. That's what's going to happen. Spider's going to save him, but it's going to take, I think, 1 or 2 more movies. But you're going to see the spark.
Yeah,
you're going to see good in him.
That's my other question is like, how are they going to stretch this to 5? And I know there was the discussion. I think Jim Cameron was like, yeah, if this one doesn't make its money back and it doesn't become profitable, then we'll probably just wrap it up in 3. But it has made its money back. And sounds like they're going to be able to go full go with all 5.
Well, I mean, they've got four clans, right? 4 types of people, right? They got the cliff people, sky people, you know, they got the plains people left. So there's 2 more movies, and then the final movie, which is all of them coming together.
Yeah. Well,
so I mean, the thing comes from like I felt like I could see where it's going, but at the same time, I'm like, but will they do anything that aggressive, or will this? Because if they keep this very generic, non-memorable but big spectacle, where it's like, I remember thinking that was a pretty good movie, but no one's going to come back to it and be like, this is my favorite movie of all time. But everybody's going to go see it in the theater when the next one comes out. That's what they want. I think out of these movies. That's what makes the money.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, we'll see. A few notes from me. First, weird to hear a voiceover in this big of a blockbuster movie. Just voiceovers aren't very popular lately in Hollywood. So it was really weird to hear Jake Sully being like, all right, let me catch up on the last 13 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Kind of odd. Yeah. It's like life moves pretty fast over here on Pandora, you know, like anyway. So, but I don't have a problem with voiceover. It kind of took me out of it for a second. I was like, oh, we're doing voiceovers. You know, they had a lot to catch up on. It's fine.
Yeah. I'd say it was a good way to fill the time.
Yeah. Right? I mean, if you wanted to jump it ahead, yeah, that's a pretty good way to do it. Although it's also like, we also could have spent a movie like seeing Jake Sully grow his family, but you know, it's not a story movie. It's a, you know, spectacle movie, like you have said. I got a question. Who is tattooing these whales?
Exactly.
What?
Who's tattooing the Na'vi?
Who is tattooing the whale? Are the Na'vi tattooing the whales?
Yes. Right.
The whales are obviously into it, but like, we're talking about a species so advanced they have ink, okay? And they're underwater. I just got questions. What do the tattoos mean? Because you see the whales without the tattoos, all right? And then they do have the tattoos when they're older. What is up? Like, if I don't get to see a whale tattoo shop in the next movie, I'm going to be a little upset, all right?
I'm guessing the explanation, because just like the Omaticaya people, I remember that.
Wow, hold on. I remember Tukun for the whales.
Tukun is the whales, and the Metakaya are the ocean people, sea people.
Oh, yeah.
Omaticaya are the forest people. So they're Omaticaya, they're based, I think, just generic Native Americans, I think, right? That's basically what they are. And then the Metakaya are Maori. Right?
They're specifically the Lokoi tribe, I think, the forest people are.
Okay.
Lokoya or whatever.
And then they obviously, I mean, just the face and the guy, you know, like even half, like almost starts to do a haka at one point.
There's some tongue action. There's some tongue
obviously Maori here,
which also took me out. There was just a little too much, or it was one of those scenes where like this one guy is framed where he's really catching my eye and he's doing the tongue, but there's other people talking. So I was like, both times I watched the movie, I was like, oh, tongue guy, you got to back off. You're really taking me out of this. Anyway, Go ahead.
Well, to be fair, Cody, I would say you didn't grow up with rugby that much in your life.
Oh,
let me tell you.
Are you going to tell me that I didn't culturally appropriate the haka as a 12-year-old for a youth dance rehearsal thing? I had to do the haka. All right. I learned it. Still remember it. It was not intimidating coming from pasty white boys. Let me tell you. Carry on.
But I'm just saying the tongue, it got your attention. It made you unsettled. It scared you, Cody. It did what it was supposed to do. That's the point. You want to show as much. That's the thing. When you see the pasty white boys doing it versus when you hear like an actual Maori person explaining it, you're like, yeah, no. If your tongue could touch your toes, you'd be all the way out there. Like the goal is as much tongue as possible. And it's like, why? Because it's intimidating. And it's like, you're wrong, but also you're absolutely not wrong. It's absolutely, I'm terrified. All right. But so the Maori, I know the Maori tattoos, they're like, you earn them for events and stuff. They're like earned. They're like merit badges, right? I don't know. Let's just not release this in New Zealand. Okay. But that's the point, right? They tell, in theory, right? They would tell the story of your life. So that's why the older ones would have the older Tikkun and the older peeps. Because the younger.
That's my question.
Who's doing it or what? How is it done?
How is it done? All right. There.
I mean, a stick and ink, right? That's how they do it in the Maori.
Underwater?
I mean,
they got to breach
stick underwater. I mean, they can't come out. They can like kind of.
But wouldn't it wash the ink off of the stick?
I mean, what if they
got on the questions? Side? Are these stick and poke tattoos?
I don't know. Maybe they're naturally forming, but then they're not on the ones that aren't tied to people. Tied to the.
Do you think a tattoo would wash off faster if you spend your life in the water?
No. Maybe if you're a human would, but not a Navi, not a whale thing.
Not a Tikkun.
Here's my favorite thing about, okay, so when people say like, but that's not how like, because there's lots of times where I'm like, but that's not how the natives and like colonial people interacted, or that doesn't make sense, right? A lot of people say this stuff about, especially the first movie. I'm sure they'll say it about this movie. And so I will remind, these are based on these cultures, but he can also be a lot more basic and like they are not Maori. They are.
Yeah.
They're aliens. So whatever they say they are, that's exactly how those people act.
Well, it is funny to me a little bit that you could have just made them a water people. But, you know, like you said, you made them pretty clearly. And he said, like, yeah, it's based on the Maori or whatever. Yeah. My favorite thing about that, though, is like, who would be a good representative for the Maori people? Kate Winslet. So I do love, like, they didn't even try to be like, why don't we get someone, you know, I mean, Jermaine Clemens from New Zealand, but he plays a human. So
Loved
whatever.
To see him
anyway.
Sam Worthington's Australian, so you know.
I just think it's fun. Yeah, it is just kind of funny. I thought it was funny. Like, let's base it on the Maori. Let's give him a shout out. How about Kate Winslet? That'll do the trick. Like, all
Isn't she Australian?
You do you.
Right.
Kate Winslet?
Yeah.
I thought she's British.
She's British? Are you sure? You sure about that? How confident are you?
Don't
I mean, it says British actress, but how confident are you?
British? Oh, man.
Ask
Kate Winslet what she likes about any of her characters, and the word ballsy is bound to pop up at these points.
To be fair.
What are these IMDb bios?
I don't know,
man. Anyway. Okay. It's fine. Whatever. Yeah. I know people that are very upset about a lot of things Jim Cameron has said about these movies, these people, you know, the Lakoi tribe, the Maori people, their representation in these movies. It's fine. Whatever. You know, they're aliens, I guess. Whatever. Yeah. I just love that it's Kate Winslet. Anywho. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird putting their performances because it's not like at any point, if you hadn't told me that was Kate Winslet, I would have had exactly 0% clue that it was Kate Winslet. So it's kind of interesting. I don't know, whatever.
I didn't know it was Kate Winslet.
A few notes. Money Guy, the whale hunter, hated him. I know I was supposed to hate him, but I hated him to a degree that it made me upset that I had to watch so much of him on screen. He gets his own, which is great. He's like the raptor hunter guy in Jurassic Park 2, where he's like, hey, raptors, and then he gets got by the raptors. It's great. Yeah. That's the first one. Anyway, Jermaine Clement was great. And I loved, look, I'll put it this way. I hated watching the whale hunting, but I loved watching the whale hunting. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
when the hunty became the hunter, I was like, this is the best scene. This is the best action scene in a Jim Cameron movie, probably. I'm watching a whale outsmart these boys. I mean, when he deflected the harpoon off his hard, because they talked about that. He's like, oh, we got to go from under where it's like soft. I was like, oh, they got hard heads. That's good to know for later. And then he like deflects the harpoon up and said, oh, this is the best. This is great.
It's my favorite part about that, Cody, was they did it once and I was like, oh, that was cool. And then right when it was just like, oh man, that was really cool when he did that. He did it again. And I was like,
how about when he wraps the cord around the boat and cuts off the dude's arm with it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was great.
Tiffany was talking about him and I was like, who are you talking about? She's like, arm guy. And I was like, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Got it.
Another thing I really liked, I loved just the scale. I feel like, I'm sure they did it in the first movie. It really stuck out to me, this movie, the scale of like people versus Na'vi, because the Na'vi are so much bigger. Like, for example, when Colonel Quaritch is holding his own skull, like his human clone skull, and then he just like crushes. I was like, oh, you're big boys. And then when Zoe Saldana is fighting them with like the spear and stuff, you're like, oh yeah, no, you get torched by one of these dudes. Their muscles are huge and they're so long. So I enjoyed seeing some of that. And, like the one when Zoe Saldana throws a gun at someone, it was great. It was so good. Or maybe Jake did it. But yeah, I mean, if you're that strong, you're throwing a big old rifle, it's going to do some damage,
Yeah.
I wish I liked Jake Sully more. I just do. There's nothing about him that I particularly like. And there's nothing I hate about him. I just, he's nothing to me. And that's sad.
Well, yeah.
I have one more note and I have a fun fact. And then I want to hear what you got to say. My other note, Jake Sully knows that they're supposed to be in hiding. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But he still is like, you know what? Let's call the doctor and come over here. Wouldn't you have known they would have seen that ship coming? Like, shouldn't you have hopped on one of your little birds and flew her back to? I know it's probably slower. I just like the whole point of you here is to be for your protection, and you don't want to endanger that tribe. And then you did both.
Yeah. Part of me does like it though, because he was a corporal in the Marine Corps, got hurt, and then he was like a loser for a while. Like like that was kind of his story. It's not like he's a super genius. Like his brother was a super genius. Like he's just a guy. So part of me kind of likes
that. You ever meet someone who went to a different country and then they come home and they end up marrying someone from that country?
Yes.
And it's like, you got someone like you fell in love with each other because you're like exotic to each other. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But you're not like cool enough to be interesting to someone that isn't from a different culture as you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's what Jake Sully is. You know what I'm saying? He popped up and he's like, look, I'm different. She's like, oh, you are a little different. All right. That's fine. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like aside from him being different, does he, you know what I'm saying? Does he have anything going for him?
He got some sick dreads.
Oh, his hair was so much better in this movie than the last one.
I like them showing the thing before they have the hair to braid around it. Because I was like, always wondering, is that, do they braid hair around the tendrils? Or is it, what is it? And it shows the babies with they don't got the hair.
I did like watching the babies swimming with the whales. That was
cute babies.
Little babies going, water babies.
I like that they addressed the Na'vi can go into the human atmosphere, Earth atmosphere for a period.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice.
Yeah.
You said you had another note and then
no. I just have a fun fact. Once we're done with whatever else you want to talk about the movie.
Oh, okay. I got a few more things about the movie. If you want to do that first before the fun facts.
Yes, let's run through those.
So gosh. You know when you click into the photos and then you try to go back to the movie and it's like, cool, you got to hit back for every single
it's so
picture.
Bad.
So I definitely feel like Avatar, like the original Avatar, right, was not planned. Like Jim made it like any of his other movies. Like didn't plan to make a sequel to it, and then they're like sequels, and he's like, oh, okay. So now we got to change some stuff. Now we got to clarify some things. And so I did kind of like the way that they addressed it, where they just kind of lived with some things and then didn't. One thing that bugs me is why in the world, in a society where you can literally upload a human brain into a clone body, why do you doubt that there's some kind of natural thing where it's exactly mimicked, could be doing the exact same thing. That bugs me in this movie and the previous movie. When they're like, in the first movie where they're like, it's like they can upload and download memories. And they're like, idiots, you can't upload and download a brain. Anyway, Colonel, go take a backup of your brain so we can upload it into a clone body if you die. But it's like, okay, what? Also, they went away. They're cowards. They went away from unobtainium. They went to ambergris that makes you immortal, I guess. I don't know. Here's the thing. I feel like that was one step too far down the Dune path. And I was like, now you have slapped Denis across the face. All right. That's what's happened. Anyway, I hate that, but also I love it. Unobtainium, everybody, I'll die on this hill. I've said this in other episodes that we've done. It's a real thing, Cody. It's a theoretical metal that you use when you're doing scientific experiments. It's a perfect semiconductor. So guess what? That's why it's super, super valuable. It is, you put the exact amount of energy you put in on one side, no matter how far away you have, as long as you have an unbroken chain of unobtainium, you get the exact same amount of energy out of it at the other side. That's what it is. It is a perfect superconductor. It is an infinitely valuable metal if it could ever be obtained. That's why it's unobtainium. It's unobtainable, but that's the real name that you use. If you're writing a PhD thesis on a thing and you use it, you would put unobtainium in there. And I was like, yeah, it's a real thing. People are too dumb. You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have put it in there. You should have called it Pandorium or something. Pandora metal, super metal, Reardon steel, anything. You know, I don't know what you're going to say, but put something other than unobtainium. And then they just didn't name the whale brain juice. And I was like, that's pretty smart. Also, Sam Worthington.
I thought they did name it. Well, you said they didn't name it?
Did they name the brain juice? Amrita. Oh, they shouldn't have done that. Which is a
Sanskrit word that means immortality.
It's dumb. They shouldn't have done it.
Avatar is also a Sanskrit word, meaning manifestation of divinity in a bodily form.
Avatar they picked just because Avatar Last Airbender was good, and it was good for SEO. That's it. I guarantee you. I put money down. That's why the name was picked.
No, what they're saying is it's a white savior story because Jake Sully is manifested in another form, which means he's divinity. So Jake Sully is God of the Na'vi, according to the etymology of the word I just read on IMDb trivia.
Yep.
That research checks out, right?
Yeah. I mean, it is a white savior story, but it's like, you know, so there is that, but I like this one. I think because, again, they wanted to step up the quality. It's like, we're going to do 6 or what, 5 or 6. How many movies did they say in total? So 5 or 6?
5 total.
5 total. I get the feeling they were like, if we're going to step it up, the movie's all overall, like the story has to be better. Like they got to step up the quality of that or people are going to get burned out. So I do like how in this movie, they showed it a lot. They showcased him not being the best, but his kids who are half natives can also be the best, you know? So it's like, so you found a loophole to get around it. So, you know, overall, like, my biggest sticking point, I would say, really, like when I was watching through it, there was lots of dumb stuff. Like didn't like how Colonel Quaritch, Clone Quaritch, conducted himself or acted, because he acted like he's like, I don't know who this Colonel Quaritch guy is. I'm not him. Anyway, moving on. It's like, dude, you were uploaded minutes before he died. As far as you know, you're him.
You have all his memories and all. Yeah. So I do think it's interesting because they do try to play it off. But then, and I think maybe that's kind of the point at the end of the movie when Spider saves him is he's like, you're not my dad, except I do feel bad and I am going to save your life. You know, so I get that. But it's also like, hey, you're the one who said it. You said you're not that man, but now you're acting like you are because you're feeling feelings over your son that isn't yours. But hey, it sure does feel like he is yours, right? So you're in denial. All right.
I think, honestly, if he, if they had from the very beginning, which maybe they did, I don't know, maybe I'm giving Cameron and him too much credit, right? But I feel like he's obviously, in my mind, supposed to be a Darth Vader analog, right? So I think he might have tried to make Quaritch more likable in the first one and less just, I mean, Stephen Lang is the king of generic douche colonel guy. That's what he plays in everything he is. He's never likable. He's perfect as that. So it's like, but you want him now as the Na'vi equivalent to be the Darth Vader character. He's terrifying. He's intimidating. He shows up, but he's like, but there you see good in him. Even though I'll remind everybody, Anakin Skywalker killed babies. Anyway, moving on. So, have him be like, just like Darth Vader's like, Anakin's dead. He's like, Quaritch is dead. I'm new Quaritch, except he's like, hates himself. But so he's like, absolutely Darth Vader, right? Vader hates himself. Vader's big. Vader's intimidating. This guy's big. He's intimidating. He hates himself because he's what he hated. But he's got to bow to the Emperor, General Ardmore, who's going to be sitting out there. Next time we see her, if she's not boxing with an even lankier suit, I don't know what we're there for. All right.
She's not double fisting coffee in the next movie. I'm going to be furious.
She's got to be eating. You got to be living
She's
her
out
whole
here
life
like
in that suit.
pouring a little artisanal latte with like little Navi art,
I like that they did make him like, no, we're coming back. We got an army. We're building a city. We're putting up like way more focus on defenses and things like that.
That's what I think is so funny is that she lays out this whole thing of like colonizing the planet. Look at all this big stuff we're doing. Anyway, you go get your revenge on that guy. It's like, well, the resources you spent, like, why don't you let them do immersion training and actually, they're like, we're going to think, act, and breathe Na'vi. And then they show up and they're like, we got guns, we got sunglasses, we got pants.
Like, I hated that.
You're doing a real bad job. I mean, the one thing you're doing is you're traveling through the forest and you're not on your giant helicopter. So you did that. That is the only thing you have done. Yeah. Whatever.
Also, it's like there's some inconsistency. Like you said, they do that. They're like, you're going to be immersed. Then they don't immerse themselves. All they do is get the dragons, right? And then they're like, oh, and then the forest will see you as, which they're like, okay, you established in the previous movie that Awa is real. It is a godlike entity that can look into memories, knows what's going on, is able of thinking. It's the planet has a brain. The planet is incredibly smart.
Well, isn't that a big deal that Jake Sully has to like become part of the Na'vi?
Yes.
Whereas in this one, they're just like, look, you guys are in Na'vi bodies, so you're good to go.
But they also became Na'vi by going and getting the thing.
What?
But I'm just saying the thing that the Awa knows stuff, right? It's like it can like literally like read minds, right? You're part of the ecosystem, so you get tapped into, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying, like, wouldn't it be able to be like, hey, you're not supposed to be here, and just murder them? Wouldn't that not be what happens? It seems inconsistent to me. Also, so I would say them going after Jake Sully is believable in that, like, I mean, in real life, they did put a lot of, I mean, even modern day, think about how many resources went to killing Osama bin Laden. One dude, like you go after leaders of organizations, and that's what he is. He's the one that united the clans to
leaders
drive
of the
off planet.
Insurgency, as they call it.
Yeah. So it's like, he's a terrorist. Kill him. He's the leader. Once you kill him, the rest of them will probably stop, which never happens, but that's the
right.
I hated that they just left him. They just left the other people there. It's like, I'm just going to leave them. They're there. They're safe now. It's like, they're not safe. There's like so much stuff. They're actively having to fight for their lives to even, and you're like, I'm just going to leave you guys leaderless. Look, Jeff over here, he's a good boy.
Well, that's my thing is that like they paint it like Jake Sully left, therefore the danger of that tribe is gone. So that's why it seemed to me to be like a really weird thing to be like, we're just going for this one dude. Is he leading the tribes that are attacking your ships anymore? No. We still got to go get him. You're like, well, shouldn't you just keep suppressing these people that are causing you problems? But no, they sent the dude to go after Jake Sully. So I just don't get that.
Because like the whalers, it's like they got it figured out. Like the people don't like them, but like
they stay out of their way. They're like, no, we're not hunting here in your area. We're going to stay away.
Yeah. So it's like they seem to have a balance here. Also, like you said, if you're going to a place, like if there's a base somewhere where it's like it's getting paid for by a thing and you roll up and you're like, they're like, hey, we're paying for the whole operation with what we're doing. You're like, yeah, I'm taking it over. I'm about to ruin you and make sure you can't make your quota this month. That's not how that works. I will say that. I'll go with you on that. You guys get one dinghy, go start rowing, like you don't get a whole ship and like get to open. You don't get to like basically
especially
declare
with
war.
How many people were on that ship and they have the giant crab suits and they have mechs and they've got the weaponry to fight off. They have a huge battle where they're like fighting all these people. So it's not like, oh, we're just equipped to fight whales. You're like, you could, you participated in a big old fight with all these people. So
Yeah, they also killed a lot of Na'vi, and it's like then there's like 12 Na'vi like we'll kill you, and it's like I mean they've killed more than you, so it's like not you're also
Yeah.
in the base, so it's like if the general ordered him to say sure, but it's like but then why would he be like no you can't do it? It's a weird back and forth, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like who do you work for here? Also, $80 million a vial, that's nowhere near the most expensive. There are more expensive like substances on Earth right now that don't cause immortality. Okay. So how dare they be like most valuable substance in the galaxy? Also, they said, okay, so the unobtainium is 20 million a kilo, which he doesn't say is the most valuable thing in the universe because it's not, or the galaxy, right? He just says, hey, it's 20 million a kilo. That's a lot of money. Okay.
Yeah, but it's the most valuable because it stops human aging.
Cody, I'm just saying there are like antimatter, right? They can't make a lot of it. Guess what? Takes the hadron collider to make that ish, and it's like hundreds of millions of dollars for a gram of it. Okay, so let's just cool it with the immortality juice. All right, we all know the spice melange is Tom Brady's deuce. All right, so that why you gotta go across the galaxy when you can just harvest his poo. Right?
Yeah. It's all the almonds and blueberries that really make it special.
That's why there's no green. They did that already. They did the almonds. They destroyed the earth with the almonds. Now they need the new source. That's what it is. Got it. Nailed it. Figured it out.
I have one final trivia fact. It is Ed Norton was offered a role for this movie, and he strongly considered it. He ended up turning it down because the role was for one of the human characters. I'm assuming either Jermaine Clement's character or the whale hunter, and he wanted to play a Na'vi. He was like, no, I want to be a blue person. If I'm not a blue person, I'm not going to take the role.
Say it for me one more time. Your mic cut out. I need to know who.
Oh, Ed Norton.
Ed Norton.
Edward Norton.
Oh, the Hulk, as we all know.
The intermediate Hulk.
Here's what I want, Cody. All right, go back. Okay, mild spoilers for Fight Club, I guess. I'm not actually going to say anything. But
can you imagine being Ed Norton and then people having the career he's had, and then people know you as intermediate Hulk? Not even like the main Hulk that's been in all the Avenger movies. Nope. He was in one movie.
A bad movie.
I mean, this man's been in David Fincher movies. He was in American History X. He's directed movies. But no, he's intermediate Hulk.
Cody, let me tell you, I don't mean to spoil your favorite book of all time for you, okay? But here's what I want. I want the next movie. They go back, they're like, blank check. Ed Norton, we need you. Right? Actually, sure, let him be blue. All I know is I need a human. I need him to be an avatar or a person going into the avatar, and I need Brad Pitt to play the other side of it. That's what I want. That's what I need, and that's what I want so bad. Cody,
that'd be so
give it to me.
I mean,
you could even
they could make it like if they make the next tribe based off of like Zulu or one of the African tribes, then Ed Norton can play the leader, and then it'd be perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like there's any good, actors of African descent that could do it. So let's get Ed Norton in there.
Yeah.
And we'll be good to go.
Can I share with you my favorite fun fact of all the trivia?
Yeah.
I actually think this is technically trivia from the first movie, but it's fine. Sam Worthington, as we know, he's Australian, I think.
He is Australia, yes.
He's on record as saying the Na'vi language was easier to learn than the American accent.
Yeah.
He had an easier time.
That's cool. Oh my, I saw this crazy documentary. Speaking of the first one, there's like this not a support group, maybe rather a group of like-minded individuals that saw the first Avatar movie and got depressed afterward because of how lame normal life is.
Yeah.
And they're all people that had in some way, like Jake Sully, they felt some sort of defect in life where they're like, man, if I could live on Pandora, I could escape like the reality of now and I could live in this amazing world. Blah, blah. It was very interesting. It was just like 8 super nerds that meet on a weekly basis that all like speak some Na'vi. Like they talk to each other in Na'vi. Fascinating. It was just like a little like 10 or 20 minutes short. This dude went on. I was like, these people are amazing. Also, I'm real glad that I didn't leave Avatar thinking, man, my life sucks so much,
Well, okay. Now let's dig into this a little bit. Were you not aware of it was like a widespread thing that people like left Avatar and became like depressed. Most people though, like even I remember leaving and being like, man, life sucks. But also you get over it. It's like when you finish a book and you have that moment where you're like, what do I do now?
I'm telling
That's kind of what it was. But so it's like most people.
I'm so stuck up for this, but I walked out of the theater being like, that was hot garbage. Like,
Well,
I was like, this is not worth the hype.
I think because it happened to so many people that it's been like studied, I think. But
it's like a little syndrome. It has like its own little name.
It actually does. I can't remember. It's Avatar.
It might just be like
depression
Avatar syndrome or something, but yeah.
But I think the idea they came across was the 3D was so much more realistic and all encompassing than like, and it was on the big IMAX. It sucked you in so much more than any movie really ever could before that you left. And so it felt like you woke up from a dream, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like the same thing, right? And so there's like lots of people that like got actual depression from it. Because I remember feeling that and being like, oh yeah, no, I got that, but it's like, but it didn't stick for very long. I mean, it's just like when you leave any super immersive movie, I felt like, but it happened to so many people that it was a whole thing when that first one. I wonder if this one will have the same effect on some people. I remember not thinking. I remember
people will start returning to the water. We will make a true, Atlantis will return.
Everything becomes crap.
Just to sum up my, for all the little knocks and funny things you pointed about the movie, I thought it was much better written than the first one. I thought the effects were really good. And I did enjoy it. And especially seeing it in 3D, I was like, I get it. I think I would have given the movie, we're about to grade it, but I would say I probably would have given it maybe half a letter grade lower in 2D than seeing in 3D. I was like, oh no, this does improve the experience. It does, really make a lot of the water stuff pop. So I love the water stuff. The action was better. The story was better. I still don't have like a character I really identify with, or anyone I felt like has grown that much, which is fine. I still enjoyed the movie and definitely thought it was, it's trending in the right direction. I'll go ahead and finish out the franchise, and even if we didn't do a podcast on movies, I would probably still, after my experience with this, and be like, all right, I want to see what they do with it, although maybe my biggest critique, 3 hours, 12 minutes, a little long. Just a little long for what they were doing. I feel like the last action scene was like 50 minutes and it's like a 20-minute battle. That's really cool. Then it's like a 10-minute intermediate thing. Then it's like 20-minute. Okay, we're swimming out of the ship. And I was like, oh, man, it was long. I had a piece so bad the first time I saw it. I had time to ride the second time. Anyway, I think you probably could have cut 20 to 30 minutes out of this movie and given us a little bit, the ending scene was so epic. And then it's like Jim Cameron being like, see, my actors can go underwater and hold their breath. And it was kind of like a flex on that. So that's where I'll leave it. Do you have anything to rebut or to say about, overall before you grade it?
So not much more. I think I felt, I don't have to pee as often as you do. So to me, it didn't, I felt
3 hours, 12 minutes.
I never looked at my
plus
watch.
20 minutes of trailers.
So
all right.
Long.
That's 3.5 hours.
Yeah. So I didn't, to me, it felt, so, like a really good movie feels like at the end of it, you're like, oh man, it's over already. Right. It felt like had it been over an hour earlier, I would have been like, oh man, I wanted to see more. But this is like, it ended right when like, had it gone a minute longer, I would have been like, all right, when are we wrapping this up? Like it maxed out its time. I feel like, so I wasn't upset with it. Tiffany did have to get up and she got up and she came back and then she's like, what did I miss? And I was like, she got up and went to the bathroom during the underwater chase scene. I was like, you just missed chase. And it made me realize like they just done this chase where nothing has happened for a very long time. But she pointed out someone did get caught, but then they got free and then they got caught again. So in my mind, nothing happened. So like
there was a lot of that with the kids. The last hour of the movie was like, you're caught, now you're free. Now you set your other sister free. Now the other sister's caught. Now the brother got the other one, but he had to get Spider and then Spider went back. Yeah, it was.
Which I did appreciate when the little girl, I can't remember the story trope, or the writing term for it. But when you have a character point out like, this is ridiculous when you're doing a ridiculous thing like that. She's like, I can't believe I'm cuffed up again. Just be like,
oh my, we that got a huge laugh. I think both times I watched it, that got a big laugh. That
it's was just funny. The way she says it. She's just like,
I can't believe I got handcuffed again
to the same railing. Which I'm like, okay, at least the writers aren't like, no, that's fine. They're like, no, we know that she's been captured 3 times.
I think it was a well-placed moment of levity in like a very long, intense sequence. Yeah.
Yeah. Jermaine, shout out to Jermaine. Love this man. I hope he
Out here
survives.
rocking the American accent.
Oh yeah. But did you also hear like randomly just the tiniest little squirt of his actual accent, which is like, and then you'd be like, no, pull it back. And then he'd get back to American.
Yeah.
I loved it. I love him. I want him in everything. Put him in every
Here's
movie.
my thing.
Disney.
I wish he was just a Kiwi scientist because the whale hunter dude is like Australian or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? I was so mad. I was like, why? I have seen Flight of the Conchords TV show like 4 times over. I had it on DVD in high school.
Yeah.
Love it. I love his accent. Love hearing him talk. So I did miss it a little bit, but I thought he did a great job.
Yeah, great job. I hope he survives and becomes like the human buddy of the Metakai people, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm guessing that he probably didn't.
Mhm.
So I loved him. I liked the design of a lot of the stuff. I have one question. You've seen it in 3D, not 3D. Did the effects look motion smoothed in both or just in the 3D? I've only seen it in the
I think
3D
in
now.
both. I think in both. And well, I'll say, like I said, I think the technology's grown up very well with it, and they did a good job. Aside from a few motions here and there, a few little bits, it never took me out of it. But every once in a while, I was like, okay, that's just not, just a tiny bit off, just a little bit, not quite right.
There were so many scenes in this one that I felt like I was playing a video game. That I think they got really shafted by video game engines making some pretty dramatic leaps recently. That now it's like, oh, these video game engines have really surpassed the engines that movie studios are using. And so I think that kind of boned them in that I think they'll have to step it up for the next movie. Yeah. It took me out of it. And I was like, I felt like the effects, though there were some that were genuinely really bad, but it was like a quick flash of like a animal jumping across a screen or something. You're like, oh, that looked like not very good.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, they were all, 24 frames per second. They were all good. They all moved well. They all had the right shading on them. Whereas there was so many more in this one where they all looked good, but it was like the rest of it's moving 24 frames per second. That's moving 60 frames per second. And it's weird.
Yeah.
And that took me out of it. I feel like that knocked it for me to, made it so I didn't get depressed. Maybe they did see one get depressed when they were in the movie. Are you trying to tell me you've never been sad when you finish a long game?
I get the
what do you do? What do I do now? Life has no meaning. I
chase the achievement, then I get the achievement. I'm like, oh, this ended very quickly. This went from being the thing I'm chasing to now I got nothing to do.
Yeah.
I get that.
That's what 99% of the people with the Avatar thing felt. They were just like, oh, it's over. All right.
Boom. Yeah. Man. Well, do you want to slap a grade on this?
I do. Do you want to do same time or different times? What do you want to do?
All right.
I'll go first.
I'm going to count us down. I'm going to count us down from 3. 3, 2, 1.
B plus.
B. Interesting.
What are you saying?
What?
Just B?
B. I give it a B. I was going to say B minus originally. Then I saw it in 3D. And then I was like, I really thought about it. And I almost went up to a B plus, but I was like, I looked through my movie list of 2022 movies and I was like, there's too many movies above this where I'm like, I enjoyed all these more. I thought they were better in certain aspects. It's a solid B for me, which, I mean, for how much I didn't like Avatar 1, I think it's a huge win. Well done, Jim. I'll give it a B.
Yeah. You know what? I said it out loud. I was like, I just said it, right? I'm going for it. I'm going to take it down to a B. That's what I'm going to do. I am.
What?
I think
what?
I am.
Whoa, you're going to take it down to a B?
I just think like it's a good movie.
That's a Cody level rating.
That's
a garbage rating there.
I think we're very on the same
level. You're the man
of
the people.
Well, yeah. But I think like the movie, as I said, is a spectacle. And they didn't nail so many of those effects where they looked like a video. So many times I was like, this looks like a video game. And when you're the biggest movie of the decade, like you can't be having that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I get that. It's sitting at a 77 tomato meter and a 92 audience score. So we kind of just split the difference there.
Yeah. Now here's my question to you, Cody.
We are the unbiased third party giving you the opinions you need.
Yeah.
What's your question?
So from what you remember, because obviously you haven't seen it, I will say rewatching it took my opinion of the first Avatar movie down a little bit because, everything, it looks a little better. It's a little more, it is I will say, much slower, much less action heavy of a movie than this movie.
Yeah, definitely.
What would you, from your memory, give the first one? Just out of curiosity.
C,
C?
maybe. Yeah.
I would totally agree with
but
that.
I never saw it in 3D. I saw it at a secondhand theater where it was like the film had been passed. So I didn't see it in digital. I didn't see it in 3D. I saw it in like, this is the biggest movie theater at a movie theater that shows old movies. And I saw it just in time before like it left. Because all my friends were like, I can't believe you haven't seen Avatar. You got to go see it. And so everyone had built it up so much for me. Then I saw it and I was like, this is poorly written. It's kind of silly at times. And I didn't get quite the impact of all the special effects because I didn't see it in 3D. I didn't see it in a top tier theater as well.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, like, if we're rating these on like, what is it like to sit in a giant Dolby or IMAX theater with 3D glasses on, then Avatar 1, A+. This one, B+, right? The Avatar 1 was so much more of like an intense 3D. It sucked you in. This one was very subtle 3D. It was nowhere near the...
yeah.
Like, there were times...
I mean, I would have seen Avatar 1 again in 3D if I didn't see it pop up anywhere. And maybe they did it right around the release, but I didn't see anyone showing it in 3D, so...
I saw the first one in like IMAX 3D, and I remember distinctly there was one scene where like something came at the screen, and I remember ducking, like the way that you saw the people when the train came at them at the first movie.
Yeah.
Like I thought that thing was gonna freaking kill me.
Yeah.
And, so, you know, it was just different. Now it's much more subtle. Like 3D went through its, you know, phase of super aggressive 3D where it's like the thing coming in your face, and now it's more just or
like here's a little depth to the picture. And all right. Well, it's a B for me and a B for ye. That's great.
So funny. We see, especially the first one, seems so different levels, but you said C. I agree with C. I'd give the first one a C. Easy. That's an easy C. You know, this one we both gave it a B. I never would have guessed that we would have agreed on our ratings for not just this one, but both of the movies.
Yeah. Man. Well, that's all I got.
It's a goodie, though, you know?
Yeah. Want to thank everyone for listening. You can find us on the old social media. You can ask us about movies you want us to see. You can follow us. You can share us at Opinion Howers. Until next time, watch movies.
And have opinions.
Tyler, I want to tell you the best part about me seeing this movie with my brother was a double feature. We saw Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Then we saw Avatar 2. We saw blue underwater people back-to-back movies. It was a great double feature. And let me tell you, my brother liked Avatar 2 better. I liked Wakanda Forever better. So, you know, just want to challenge the people out there. It's a great afternoon. You go, you watch Black Panther, you watch Avatar. You could even do Avatar 1 and 2 and Black Panther 1 and 2. There you go.
Offer an alternate.
Get the unlimited popcorn bucket. Get yourself a large beverage of choice. It's a good day.
Or you could do what I did.
Get depressed after. This is a good time.
See Puss in Boots and then this
drive into the night with no purpose.
There you go.